in ink, please, and take a note of it. There is no punctuation mark after the signature. There is no punctuation mark after the signature. Just you sign the letter and leave it. Don't use any kind of punctuation mark after the signature. Then superscription or address on the envelope. This should be written at the bottom of the letter, left hand corner of the letter, bottom left hand corner of the letter, because it is superscription. Subscription, fourth part, fifth part is superscription, address on the envelope. And now official letters. From, to. Two familiar styles of writing, letter writing. Two familiar styles of letter writing, British style and American style, that is British format or American format. While writing a letter, we will have to make up our mind whether we are going to use a British format or American format. What is the difference between British format and American format? All the previous notes that is given to you deal with British style, that is heading, top right hand corner, salutation left side, body of the letter, then subscription to the right hand side corner after the body of the letter, superscription to the left hand side corner of the page after this subscription. All these things, that is British format. We Indians have been using this British format. We have been constantly using this British format, and now with the advent of these multinational companies, we are changing our style of writing letters. We are just drifting towards American format. In the American format, or the style of writing a letter, the date, the sender's address, that is from address, the receiver's address, that is the person who will have to receive that letter, the salutation, and the signature. Everything, all these five, the date, the sender's address, the receiver's address, the salutation, signature, and also the superscription. All these five parts are, say, pushed to the left side of the paper. So, everything is placed on the left side of the paper. Heading, salutation, body of the letter, subscription, superscription, all the things come on the left side of the paper. But in British format, it is not like that. It is not like that. Each part of the letter has got its own place on the letter. In the British format or in the British style, comma is used at the end of each line of the address. See how the British people write letters, how we had been writing. In the British style or in the British format, comma is used at the end of each line of the address except the final line. So, this is the style which we had been using. In the American format, in the American style, punctuation is completely avoided except the comma after the salutation. So, only at one place this comma is used in the American format. Say, let me make it clear. Suppose you are writing to the collector. To we write, and next to the collector, comma, office of the collector, comma, the district. say for example, Kurnool district, full stop we use, but here in the American format punctuation is completely avoided except the comma after the salutation. So, to the collector there is no comma, office of the collector there is no comma, like that. Without using any punctuation mark, we use the American format. American format will not have any punctuation mark except only one comma, that is after the salutation. So, I have asked you to plan before you write a letter, plan what you are going to say and how you are going to say it before you write a letter. That is, you plan your letter. What should I say to the officer in the first paragraph, and what should I say to the officer in the second paragraph, and what should be written in the last paragraph, because the officers will not have time to go through the entire letter, and therefore, whatever you want to say must be very clear. Do not try to imitate somebody's style. Be yourself. So, when you are writing a letter, be yourself, originality. Do not try to imitate somebody's style. Be yourself. Whatever you want to say it frankly. Don't try to imitate the style of somebody else who is accustomed to write letters, but be yourself. Cultivate the habit of writing letters, and then you will become perfect. Say what you want to say very clearly and crisply, because I have all the time been saying that the officers will not have time to go through the entire letter. Don't beat about the bush. So, whatever you wanted to say it clearly and crisply. Remember that brevity is the soul of wit. Brevity is the soul of wit. Whatever you want to say it briefly, so that the officer can easily understand what your problem is or what you are going to ask him. Original style and honest expression should represent your personality. Remember that letter is one that is written by you personally, and your style, the way in which you write your letter and the way in which you express yourself and the way in which you divide your letter into paragraphs, all these things come and show to the person your personality. So, original style and honest expression should represent your personality. That is, when the person receives your letter and when the person is going through your letter, he must see you, how sincere you are, how honest you are, how original you are. So, your originality, your honesty, your sincerity should be placed on a sheet of paper. Therefore, the other person can easily understand whether you need it or not. And therefore, whenever you write an official letter, be sincere, be original and be honest, because letter is a representative of your own personality, your own character, your own honesty and appearance of your letter, not you, because you have written a letter, you have posted it and you have forgotten about it, and you are waiting for a reply from the officer, and therefore, the letter also must have an appearance. Use good stationery, please. Use good stationery and be careful about the space. Be careful about the space between two words and lines. So, the spacing between two words and spacing between two lines should be proper. It should be proper and it should be uniform. That is, when the person receives a letter, he will have to understand what is it about. So, it must not be just like a jungle of words, jungle of letters. So, when he reads the letter, he must read it and he must understand it. Therefore, the space between two words and lines should be very clear and should be very proper and should have some uniformity. So, it should have a uniform. And language. In the beginning itself I told, when you are writing a personal letter, you need not be careful about your language, but when you are writing a letter to an official, your language should be simple and lucid. Your language should be simple and it should be very clear. So, when you plan your letter, why don't you write a rough draft? You can write a rough draft and then you see whether you have conveyed what you want to convey clearly or not. And therefore, it is better to jot down all the points on a sheet of paper before starting a letter. Therefore, you need not get yourself confused after starting the letter, and therefore, your language should be simple and lucid. Familiar word is better than a far-fetched word. Use familiar words instead of far-fetched words. Don't think that the officer is interested in your vocabulary. The officer is not at all interested in your vocabulary. He is interested in what you want to have or what you want, and therefore, when he reads the subject, he can understand what you want to have from him, what kind of service is expected from the officer by you, and therefore, try to use simple language as far as simple and very lucid. Familiar words, use familiar words. Don't take up a thesaurus. Don't take up a thesaurus into your hand and search for far-fetched words or some archaic words, archaic, archaic words. They are far-fetched. Don't use such words that will irritate the officer. Instead of pleasing the officer, such words will irritate the officer, and therefore, don't try to irritate the officer by using far-fetched words and by using all your vocabulary. Don't take the help of your thesaurus, keep it aside while writing a letter. Use familiar words. Let us see some examples. Get. Use get instead of procure. Get is simple and can easily be understood instead of using procure. Use accept instead of save. Save also gives the same meaning, but don't use save. Instead of save, you use accept, because accept is very clear, that is used by all the people, whether educated. If one person is just educated, he will use accept and he can easily understand the word accept, but not save. Save gives a different meaning, the way in which we use it. And instead of using callous, use hard-hearted. He is a hard-hearted person, say that, but not callous. And therefore, remember that every letter, whether it is an official letter, whether it is a personal letter, or whether it is a business letter, or whether it is a letter to the editor of a newspaper, must have 5 parts: heading, greeting or salutation, body of the letter, subscription and superscription. Remember all these, and also the British format and the American format, and write letters. and have a nice day.